Hi guys, it's Steffi from the Novelty Corner and welcome back to my channel and welcome to another favourites video for 2018. This is my young adult and middle grade favourites for the year. These are all books that I read in 2018, which may mean that they were not necessarily published in 2018, although most of them were. I'm going to start with my favourite middle grade books because there are two of them, and I read a few more books this year in middle grade, but these are the two that I really loved. The first was City of Ghosts by Victoria Schwab, which is a paranormal ghost story, and it is set in Scotland, and it was just very atmospheric, and it was creepy without being super scary. I really loved the main character. I loved her parents, who have a book series, but now also have a television show that they're filming, and thus our main character, Cass, is going to be traveling around the world with her parents as they explore these spooky sites, and I thought that was a really cool concept. And keeping with my ghost theme, Lockwood & Co.'s The Screaming Staircase, which is book 1 in the series by Jonathan Stroud. I really loved this series. It was recommended to me by Leanne from Literary Diversions, and it was just a fantastic read. I have the second book. I'm planning on reading it hopefully before the end of the year. It is about a group of teenagers who have an agency designed to hunt and dispel ghosts, because in this world, suddenly ghosts have just become more prevalent and no one really knows why, and there are plenty of ghost hunting organizations set up and run by adults. But the twist is only kids and teenagers up to a certain age can see, hear, or feel the ghosts that are in the world, and so it is left to these kids to actually be the ones fighting the ghosts. Lockwood & Co. is the only agency run by kids, and as such, they find themselves in all sorts of trouble, and usually everything goes wrong, but the characters are wonderful. I adored it, and I can't wait to read more. I have 3 favourite books in the young adult category by international authors, and then I have a whole stack of Lovers YA stuff because I adore Australian young adult. I just think it's amazing. The first book I'm going to talk about is Legendary by Stephanie Garber, which is book 2 in the Caraval series, and I loved this. And I know it's a bit controversial because people either loved or hated Caraval. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was just fun, and Legendary was so much better. It was just so much more engaging, and we follow Teller, who is the sister of the main character from Caraval, and an infinitely more engaging protagonist in my opinion, as she tries to uncover who Legend actually is. Legend is the mysterious owner of Caraval. While it may not necessarily be the best thing written out there, it is definitely something that I enjoyed. The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas, yes, I read it. I finally read it, and people can stop getting off my back about it. And it was great. It was very powerful and uplifting, and I couldn't not mention this book in this video. Easily one of my favourite books of this year, because I cannot stop talking about it in any video that asks me to talk about my favourite books, is The Astonishing Colour of After by Emily X.R. Pan. And this is the story of Lee, who is dealing with the suicide of her mother. And it is a magical realism story because Lee begins to see this beautiful bird, and she believes that the bird is her mother. Lee decides to travel to Taiwan to visit her maternal grandparents, whom she really hasn't had very much to do with at all. And she decides to uncover a little bit more about her mother's past. It is just the most gorgeous story. And I think the reason it resonates so highly with me is that I can relate to a couple of the experiences in here. This book is just beautiful. It made me cry. I adored it, and I will shove it in the hands of anyone who needs a book that is just a gorgeous contemporary exploration of losing a loved one and dealing with grief, because it is incredible. And now we come to my favourite Lovers YA books. I can't not mention Obsidio, which was the 3rd and final book in the Illuminae files. Probably wasn't my favourite book of the series, but it was definitely a wild ride, and I loved it, and I loved getting to see all of the characters coming together and how everything is finally resolved. Great book. Highly recommend the audiobooks for it. If you haven't read this series, definitely check it out. After the Lights Go Out by Lily Wilkinson is a book that I heard about last year, and I have been eagerly awaiting all year, and I was really grateful I got to go to the book brunch launch for this book with Lily Wilkinson, and it was really, really fun. It is the story of Prue and her 2 sisters who are living in rural Australia with their father, who has moved them out into the middle of nowhere, built a house, and then built a bunker because he's a doomsday prepper and he's training his girls to survive the end of the world. One day when her father is out at the mines, the unthinkable happens and all the power goes out, and Prue and her sisters are left trying to decide, do they enact their father's plans? Do they lock themselves in the bunker and keep out the entire world, or do they actually try and help the people in their town, the people who are their friends, and it is a complex look at what would you do in such a situation, and I really, really enjoyed it. White Night by Ellie Marnie was another favourite this year and another very eagerly awaited book. It follows the story of Beau Mitchell, who lives in a small country town, and then one day he meets a girl named Rory who lives on an off-the-grid community called the Garden of Eden, and he becomes very swept up by her life and by the way that her community live their life. Things get very complicated very quickly, and it was just a lovely contemporary book about falling in love for the first time and trying to be a good friend, and it had great parental representation in this book. It dealt with a lot of things that contemporary teenagers would deal with, particularly in Australia, and I just thought it was wonderfully written, and Ellie Marnie can do no wrong in my book. I also adored Ellie Marnie's Circus Hearts series. You've heard me talk about them. I've read them twice this year. They're the only books that I've read twice in the same year. I couldn't put them down. They're only just over 200 pages long each, so they're very short, very easy to read. Each book follows two different couples who are living and working inside Clutch's carnival, and there's always this element of a mystery or a crime thread through all of them, but it is their lives and how they interact, and no one writes romance in young adult books like Ellie Marnie. Hands down, she is easily my favourite. I highly recommend them all. The first book is All the Little Bones, All Fall Down, and then All Aces. They're just fantastic. And the last book that I want to talk about is Catching Telecrow by Ambient and Ezekiel Quay-Molina. For this book, I'm actually just going to read you the first part of the blurb, because if this doesn't entice you to this book, I don't know what will. Nothing's been the same for Beth Teller since she died. In this story, Beth Teller is connected to her father, who is a detective, and he can see her and he can talk to her, but she has died. So there's a really wonderful magical realism thread, paranormal thread running through this book. She follows him out to a small town to help investigate a crime, and there they find a mystery. And the mystery is around Isabel Catching, and she is connected to a man who was killed in a fire. Beth becomes really invested in this mystery, and as such, she begins to unravel quite a few shocking secrets about the town. This book is just incredible. It is very short, but it is so powerful and moving. I have no words. I really don't. It was just incredible, and I am so glad that I read it. And this is another book that I'll be shoving into people's hands because it is just wonderful. So those are the young adult and middle grade books that I loved in 2018. In the comments, let me know, what did you really enjoy reading from this readership age range in 2018? I hope that wherever you are in the world, you're having a wonderful day, and I'll catch you guys in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye guys.